Kareem, can you hear us over there?
I can hear you clearly. Yes.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Should we start?
Let's go.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Morningside Elementary School's GoTeam Meeting, where we will follow the agenda as it has been emailed to you and publicly noticed. There's also copies right near Mr. Barron's computer if anybody needs one. I am pleased to call this meeting of the GoTeam to order. The first order of business at 5:01 p.m. is to call roll. Ms. Davis, will you please call the roll?
Absolutely. Brian Barron,
Present.
Kristen Simpata,
Present.
Chappelle Washington Freer,
Present.
Brooke Manevsky,
Present.
Davis, present, Allison Spelstein,
Present.
Amelia Morrell,
Present.
Betsy McKay, Kristen Pollitt, and Kareem Fall.
Present.
Madam Secretary, this team will only be able to take official action this evening if a quorum is present. Is there a quorum present?
Quorum is present.
Thank goodness. All right, our first order of business tonight is to approve the agenda. This was provided to you. Copies are here. Are there any changes to the agenda? Excellent. May I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
Ms. Spelstein, motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you. And a second? All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand to approve the agenda. All those opposed, please say nay or raise your hand. Any abstentions? Excellent. The agenda is approved. Our next motion is to approve the meeting minutes from our last meeting. The minutes were provided and are on our website. Are there any corrections as they stand? Of it. If there are no corrections, may I have a motion to approve the previous meeting's minutes?
Morrell, motion to approve.
Thank you. And a second?
Spelstein, second.
All in favor of the minutes from the previous meeting, please say aye or raise your hand. All those against, please say nay or raise your hand. Any abstentions? Excellent. The minutes are approved. We're going to move right into discussion items. We have mixed discussion and action items this evening for ease and to keep us focused. I totally forgot, sorry guys. We had no signups for public comment either before or after the meeting. If anyone comes and we want to add them to the end of the meeting, we had space in our agenda for public comment both at the beginning of the meeting if anybody wanted to speak on what we were about to vote on. And then at the end, if anybody had anything to say, because we have no signups, I glossed over it, but I shouldn't. And our community is always welcome to any of these meetings for 2 minutes of public comment uninterrupted. So I would like to recommend to our community that if there's anything you'd like to bring to our attention, especially with the principal search and the budget, please don't hesitate to use public comment for that. All right. Now we are moving into our discussion items, and the first discussion item this evening will be led by Principal Barron. We are moving to the final budget recommendation presentation. Principal Barron, it's all you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to start with our norms that this is a meeting of the Go Team and only members of the team may participate in the discussion. We will follow the agenda as noted and is posted publicly to stay on task. We invite and welcome contributions of every other member and listen to each other. And we will respect all ideas and assume good intentions. We are currently at the end step of our budget cycle, our budget process for the year. This is the GoTeam budget finalization meeting. Budgets will be approved or need to be approved in the district by the 14th. So we are well within that window today on the 5th. All right, so what we will do here is review components of the budget. A lot of this will be review and the same as what was presented. There's one piece that we will discuss that is slightly changed. And then after the review, the Go Team will take action and vote on the FY26 budget. Why do we do this? We do this so that we can get approval from the Go Team for this budget. And again, it must be held before March 14th. So let's dive right into budget updates. So there was one change made to the draft budget that we discussed at the last meeting. The change reflects an allocation change of $19,422. And let me show you where that comes from. So the finance department, at the staffing meeting, the finance department allowed a reduction of the amount that was, the amount of days that were allocated for substitutes to be dropped by 2 days per staff member because the Go team voted to add 2 in-person subs, okay, to the staff for Morningside. So what that did is freed up $19,422. We have come to find out that we as a school, each school will be responsible for funding classroom printer toner for next year. And with calculations that I have made based on the cost of toner and looking at an average of how much toner is used in each printer in each classroom, I came to 3 as an average, and the average cost of 3 laser toners per staff member with a printer equates to just about a little over 19,000, which is pretty remarkable that that is what was freed up from the substitutes. So this money was put into the teaching and other supplies line in order to accommodate for that. So that we can freely purchase replacement toners. In the past, there was a contract with Xerox where there was an automatic funding through the Xerox contract and through APS. That is going away. That will no longer be active as of July 1st. So that's where that additional allocation of $19,422. Yes, question.
Does the school get reimbursed when the school copiers don't work and teachers might have to make copies on their printer because there's no copiers in the building that work?
Great question. So the information that I have gotten is that the current copiers that we have will be traded out for high capacity copiers, which are the ones that, if you think about, I'm very visual, like a copier that we have now, copies. A high capacity one, copies. It's much faster, right? It is made in a different way, from my understanding, to accommodate for that load. So we are hoping for the best. In terms of your question, because I know that didn't answer your question, in terms of your question, that is a no. There is no reimbursement from Xerox for that. But what we can do is prepare for additional toner, right? So that we can, and additional paper as well. Any other questions about that change? Any concerns? Can I move forward? Okay. Perfect. So budget by function, I did present this at the last meeting. I want to point out quickly again at the bottom right of this chart, 9,981,000. 568 does not include the $45,000 security grant, which bumps us up to a little bit over $10 million in our budget. So what we're looking at here is non-grant. This is the allocation from the district. And so this is where we have landed. The only change would be to, in this final budget, is that $19,422. There was a question that came up in the last meeting regarding allocation of EIP FTEs. So the short answer of that is that EIP as support service is funded with a different model. And so they are not allocated positions, but they are budgeted positions and funded positions from the school. So they don't list it in that column. This was the answer that I received. Because there is a different funding formula, it's not listed as an earned.
But from the school or the district? You mean the district?
I'm sorry, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
The district is
That's right.
not listed as an earned.
But the district funds it.
Correct. Gives it to us in our budget based on our FTE for EIP. And so that's where our 2 funded positions come from. Okay. All right. So again, this does include the changes that we have discussed through this process, where the vacant assistant principal position is abolished, the master teacher leader 1 FTE is abolished, so that we are going back to 6 FTEs in 3rd grade, and there will be an abolishment of 1 5th grade FTE, which washes out to be a vacancy, actually, because we have open spots to be able to put that, to be able to shift that assignment. So there's not an abolishment of a person, it's an abolishment of a vacant position. Okay. Please stop me if there are questions. So budget by function, and we are in a great spot here with 81% going toward construction. We are very slim on the school administration at 5%. The lowest that we have is for our librarian. Actually, that FT is in the category by itself. That's the lowest percentage that we have. So, when you look at a school budget, the pie here is very well cut up. It's very well allocated in terms of what we have been looking at to serve students directly. Any questions about this? I don't believe that the percentage changed when that 19,000 was put back into it's very minimal when you look at a $10 million budget. So we're still at that 81% towards construction. All right, that was the change of the 19, where it went and why it went there. So let's open up for questions, fuzziness, any questions, any concerns, any yays, any nays, anything.
That $19,000.
Yes.
You remember, is it specifically for toner or is it for supplies? Should we not need $19,000 for toner,
Right.
for example?
Great question.
Does it give us enough wiggle room?
Yes, so it goes into the bucket for teaching supplies.
Perfect. Thank you.
And then as we need it, that's a school-based allocation towards where that goes. All right. Good to move on?
Yep.
Are we ready to vote on it?
So here it is. The GoTeam needs to take action, vote on the budget. After the motion and the second, the GoTeam may have additional discussion. That is quite all right. And then once the discussion is concluded, the GoTeam will vote. So.
Thank you, Principal Barron, for sharing this information. Is there a motion to approve this budget?
Morale motion to approve.
A second? All those actually, before we do that, is there any further discussion that needs to be had? Excellent. All in favor of the budget as presented for the 2025-2026 school year, please say aye or raise your hand. Kareem, I'm checking for you too, I promise. Excellent. All those opposed, please say no or raise your hand. And any abstentions? Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. Our budget for 25-26 has been approved.
Cool. I would like to make one comment.
Yes.
I want to thank everyone for making this budget process collaborative and really a team effort. That's what it felt like. It feels like we really addressed some things looking into next year that can really benefit what our strategic priorities are. So thank you.
I think it's a testament to how a GoTeam is formed too, that we had people to represent parents and staff and community, and that everybody brought something specific from your expertise to the table. Was great. So thank you. Thank you. All right, principal's report, Mr. Barron.
Yes, here we go. So principal's report, I'm going to talk about 4 things. Pre-K at MES, there have been some questions that have come up, and I want to be very clear and transparent about and consistent about the explanation. Upcoming assessments, power up for the summer and 25-26 school year. So regarding pre-K at Morningside, our cluster utilization chart shows us over the next 5 years at being over 90% each of the next 5 years of capacity. What that takes into consideration is the spaces that we have available for core classes, which are grade levels, and then non-core classes, which are support classes, specials classes, etc. I'll show you another slide in a second. Currently, we are slated for, this has changed slightly from 697 to 694. That's insignificant in terms of our utilization. But we are the only school, the only elementary in the Midtown cluster that is above a 90% capacity, which puts us in a yellow standing, meaning we're there. We're creeping up again, even though we came back to a renovated space. So I want to explain it a little bit more in terms of this chart, spaces at MES. So we have 50 total spaces for use in this building. That does not include offices. This is use for where students are occupying spaces. Okay. Currently this year, we have 35 homeroom classes. We have 36 core spaces. It may seem like we have an additional classroom. However, when we look at the non-core spaces, we were allocated 14 non-core spaces for library, STEM lab, Spanish room, art room, 2 music rooms, 1 gym, and then 3 classrooms for 6 teachers across our EIP, ESOL, and special education classes. So right there, the additional homeroom is absorbed, where that becomes use for a non-core space. Otherwise, we really are in trouble with our space, right? We don't have a space for to be able to fit our special education classes. EIP is sharing the class between 2 teachers, as well as 3 classrooms that were allocated for our gifted program, where we have 4 classes. And so there's another space that is a full classroom space being used for another program. So we literally have borrowed from that core over to the non-core. For next year, for next school year, we will also have 35. We have not gained any extra spaces. And so we are actually adding another teacher as a support teacher for 0.5 reading, 0.5 math. So we're gonna have to carve out a space for that teacher to be able to work with children. And so we are still at an average of 21 class size with a capacity in the building of 756 students. Although we have a projected enrollment of 694 students, it's still, the math still doesn't work because we have non-core needs without non-core spaces that have been deemed as non-core classrooms. So in terms of adding a pre-K this year, I want to go on this live stream by saying I would love nothing more than to have pre-K. 4-year-olds, we jive, like we are there. I love 4-year-olds. However, there are requirements in the building to be able to support a pre-K program. And at this point in time, we are just not equipped to be able to support that program. Further discussion about pre-K does need to go through the early learning office, and they work with the state of Georgia, who also deems locations viable. So I did want to just put this out here and talk about why. There's no secret here. It is what it is. We are sharing spaces with teachers in classrooms. We have to always make sure that our homerooms have separate spaces. It's not ideal. It's not. Are there any questions about pre-K? All right. And I did discuss this at my the most recent caffeine connection / principal coffee talk. This is the same information that I did share. So spring assessments, we are starting, not this upcoming week, but the following week. We have math growth for ELA math in grades K-5. We have the science assessment coming up in grade 5 as well. My apologies for leaving out an end parentheses. We have our math fluency for K3. The window for that is 324 to 44. And then we have our K5, with the exception of second grade, right score window that goes up through the 4th of April, which brings us right up to spring break. Following spring break, we have 2 weeks of instruction review, to gear up for our GMAS, our Georgia Milestone Assessments, which start on the 28th of April. Grades 3 and 5 will test the 28th through the 2nd, Monday through Friday. And it is 1 section per day. And then the following week is 4th grade, the 5th through the 9th. We have a couple of days of makeup testing after that for any students who have really missed that last part of the window. And then we'll be finished. And then we will unbelievably wrap up the 25 school year, the 24-25 school year. So that is what is upcoming. Any questions on this? Perfect. Power Up Summer School, the registration. This is summer school. This is open to anyone. There will be some invitations sent for students who are identified as students who could really benefit from summer school. So those will be going out at some point over the next probably 2 weeks or so. It is being hosted at Virginia Highland Elementary for our cluster. There is transportation that is provided from APS, and it is a full day from 7:45 to 2:15. The first part of the day is content learning. The second part of the day is STEAM focus. And so that will take place, like I said, at VAG. Registration is now open. This has been in the Digital Dolphin. It will continue to be until the deadline. And there will be a registration link. It's here now, and this will be available on the GoTeam presentation site as well. All right. So just a very quick recap about the 25-26 school year. 694 projected, 6 teachers in K through 3, 5 teachers in grades 4 and grade 5. Parent input forms are coming out tomorrow in the Digital Dolphin. They will be open for 2 weeks. 2 weeks only. They are revised a little bit. They're very self-explanatory. There's a hard deadline. There is a hard deadline this year. We cannot accept forms after that because class placements for grades 3 and 4 will happen prior to spring break this year. Because April, I'm not touching April because of GMAS, right? So K2 rising up to those grades will happen in April. So grades 3 and 4 will happen first so that there's no time taken, outside of review instruction. They still will not be available until the summer, but we want to get ahead of it and we want to have some really solid class placements prior to the time of leave. The 25-26 calendar is posted on the APS website. I will put a link on the Morningside website. Please take a look at that. We also, just a heads up, we end after Memorial Day next year. Okay, so that's intact. School starts August 1st on a Friday for the 25-26. I know, what? It's kind of nice though. It's kind of nice for everyone. You have a day of I call it summer shock, right? Like, you have a day and then you come back and that's really when we start in with our school year. But we will welcome everyone on August 1st and it'll be a big party. So we're ready, or we will be ready. Okay. All right. So that is the end of my principal update. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Anything to share? Good. Kareem, you good? All right. Perfect. Okay. I'm gonna turn it back over to.
Okay, can I steal that?
Oh,
I'll come
yes.
sit over there.
Perfect. Here you go.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
All right, our last discussion item, before we move into informational is the principal search. I know I have spoken to a lot of members of our team. I've also spoken to APS repeatedly. Almost said repetitively, but yes, both repeatedly. And members of our community, we are trying our very best to represent every voice. That is kind of the beautiful thing about GoTeam, is that we have community members, staff members, and parent members. There are 9 of us, and we are all welcome to have any conversations you want with anybody you would like to represent as this process goes forward. I know there was a little bit of confusion. I want to take a moment real quick to say thank you to Kristen Sincata for creating an infographic where you can find all the information in one place with all the dates and all the names. We will continue to put out as much information as possible to make this process as transparent and concise as we can make it. I just wanted to, after we heard from HR last time, now that more time has gone by, I want to make sure that we are all on the same page and that we all have the same information. Okay, it did move. Sorry, using somebody else's setup. So this is the infographic that you will see in the Digital Dolphin. It is going home in Wednesday folders. I believe APS is going to offer something as well. This is our GoTeam offer. This is taking into consideration all the information we have gotten, hot links, you name it, everything in one place. So there have been a lot of questions and need for clarification about how everyone's voice can be heard in this process. The principal search process starts with a period of community feedback. That's where we are right now. If you want to talk like APS, we can say we're in tier 1. If you want to talk like we talk in this building, we're in the information section, right? So during this time, Atlanta Public Schools Human Resources, with an input form, they have sent out what they call their principal profile. That is really a survey that has been sent to everyone, and hopefully you should all have links. We are all happy to share that link with you. And it is your opportunity to fill out an open-ended survey of what you are searching for in your principal for this building. They are looking for participation from all of our sectors, right? From staff, from community, and from parents. That does include alumni. That's been a question. Alumni just fill out as community members. So if you do not currently have a child at Morningside, you're considered community, even if you have had one here in the past. So you choose your category. Everything is anonymous. They're not collecting email addresses or anything like that. We ask for you to be as open and honest as you can be so that we can use that information when we go through these tiers to make sure that we are representing the wants and needs of our community. The MES Go team has added additional forums for the community to provide input into this process. I do want to take a moment also to thank the PTA. Not only is the PTA helping us to put this information out, they are also providing childcare at these events so that parents can sign up and bring their children and drop them off with Miss Patricia in Aftercare and be an active member of these conversations. So I want to thank PTA for that. We want to make this as available to anyone who wants to be here as possible. Come in person. There's childcare. There are digital options. There will be an anonymous survey coming out. Lots of ways to get involved. So all community member, staff, and parents are asked to fill out a survey that has been circulated by APS in order to voice their priorities. All the surveys are due by this Sunday, March 9th. That is a change. If you saw that it was Sunday, March 2nd, you're not crazy. We have requested that our community have more time to fill out that survey, and APS was good enough to give us an extra week. So please, if you know that you know community members that need to have their voices heard or have opinions that we need to be considering, please ask them to fill out that form. Okay, it is a hot link here on the infographic. It's a hot link on Facebook. It's a hot link on Digital Dolphin. All you have to do is click and fill it out. Okay, the representatives from APS will review that principal survey, and the results will be discussed with our community on March 13th. All the information from those surveys will also be published. So you will be able to see what the community has responded to. They will culminate that information and make it available to us. On Thursday, March 13th, there will be 2 meetings here at the school. From 3 to 4 p.m., there will be a meeting for staff only. That means that our 3 staff members from GoTeam will be there. We will not be there. Staff gets full transparency and responsibility behind closed doors. And then from 4 to 5 p.m., there will be a meeting run by APS for community and for parents. During that time, not only will they go over the surveys, but they have said, if you have anything further to add, you didn't get a chance to answer the survey, you have questions about the process, they will answer all those questions there. So it is not limited to only if you filled out the survey. So please pass the word about March 13th. March 13th will give you an opportunity to be heard by APS. There will be childcare available for both of those meetings, snacks, etc. Just please, you'll see that in the link, there's a hot link there to sign up to let us know if you are not traditionally a part of aftercare but would like your child to go. You just sign up and you drop your child off and come to the meeting. Okay. GoTeam feedback. We were in the library today for anybody who wanted to come and speak with us today. If we see that there is an opportunity that more people would like to talk, we are happy to do that again. We also will have a survey that is going to come out after APS has done their work so that we can have information from our communities when we go into our tiers to talk to APS. So there will be lots of opportunity for anybody in the community to make sure their voice is heard before any decisions have been made, and honestly, before any of us have even seen a candidate. We will know what the community is asking for and looking for and prioritizing. Okay? If this wants to switch. I'm trying, we promise. His setup is very different than mine. It's stuck. I don't know where he has me on here. Aha! Enter doesn't work. Down here it is. All right, so here are the tiers. This is APS talk. So the tiers that you see along the side, tier 1, 2, 3, and 4 is the way that APS has divided this process. Tier 1 is where we are right now. Okay, tier 1 runs until April 1st. During this time, APS Human Resources is creating a short list of 12 potential candidates. Applications are assessed by 2 tools. One is the principal profile, which we will have completed on March 13th. The other is the higher view video. So higher view video is APS creates a video with questions for potential candidates that the superintendent, cluster superintendent, and other principals from the Midtown cluster create. The candidates have to answer those questions, and then those members score those videos. So we don't see those videos. I do believe those videos are available to us in further tiers that we can see their answers. But that whole tier 1, that higher view process is with 2 cluster principals. We do not choose those principals. Those are chosen by APS, and they score that independently. So our part of tier 1 is that profile, is that survey. Tier 2 is on April 1st. That's not a joke. Tuesday, April 1st. The GoTeam chair, which is myself, and the co-chair, which is Ms. Morel, will meet with APS, HR representatives, and the Midtown Cluster Superintendent downtown, and we review the applications of those 12 candidates from tier 1. And at that time, those candidates are cut in half to the top 6. And the top 6 will then progress to tier 3. Okay. Tier 3, the panel interviews happen Friday, April 18th. Everyone in this room, staff representatives, PTA co-presidents, foundation president, that's everybody, right? And 2 principals. And 2 principals from the cluster. Thank you, Ms. Morel. I knew I was forgetting someone. We meet downtown in the morning, as Mr. Rogers stated in our last meeting, or 2 meetings ago now. We will create a list of questions that will be asked to those top 6 candidates. They will also show us their plans, and we can ask them questions on those. And we will, during that day, during April 18th, go from 6 to 3. They will be scored, and in response to our conversation from 2 meetings ago, I want to be transparent. Those responses are going to be anonymous. So our names will be redacted from the scorecards for each applicant. So tier 3, at the end of tier 3, at the end of April 18th, we will have our top 3 candidates. Those top 3 candidates are given to our APS HR representative, which is Mr. Rogers, our cluster superintendent, Ms. Sofianos, and then the APS superintendent, Dr. Brian Johnson. Those 3 members will hold questions and interviews and choose their top candidate. And that top candidate will be presented to the school board, I'm sorry, not the school board, the Board of Education, on May 5th. We will find out who that top candidate is along with the community when the Board of Education's agenda is announced, usually the day before their meeting. So we will have no information that is not public before that time. Any questions on the process? Okay, the discussion item we need to have is that we need to, and I'm going to look to our staff representatives for this conversation. We have been charged in order to balance the room because our room is pretty parent and community heavy, the way that our system is set up right now, to choose 2 representatives from the staff to invite to tier 3. So when we're all in the room, so that staff and community are balanced in the room. We had some hypothetical conversations before, but I really want to look to our staff as to who you would recommend. From what I understand, we have 2 positions to fill, and then because Mrs. Celestine is not available on the 18th, we can elect a staff member to go in her place. So that would be a 3rd name that we're going to discuss. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah. Okay. So staff, would you like to talk about how you would propose to fill those spots?
I think the cleanest is teacher of the year and support person of the year.
Can you
So,
explain?
Yes. There's only one, each year the staff nominates teacher of the year and support person of the year. And then there's like a whole vetting process for how they, yeah, observations, data driven. There's a whole rubric on how they get picked. There's only one of each of them, and we feel like that would represent the teacher of the year is master teacher of the year and the classroom teacher that covers and STEAM. And then the professional of the year is would represent a voice that we don't have on here.
It's an hourly position. It's someone who's here in a different capacity on staff than just a teacher. So it gives us a unique perspective that way as well. Is there anyone else you would like to consider?
Yeah, I'm just thinking of a teacher who's working more with the students who they have a broader insight of the students who are marginalized, opposed to like teacher of the year. Like I don't know, I'm just thinking of full picture. In terms of understanding the body of our students and being able to represent this today as we look for principal, opposed to teacher of the year that could just be favorite person.
Well, no, because it was based on criteria and data. It's not just like the staff voted. It was based on observations and their data and how they moved subgroups.
I'm just thinking more of a like support specialist, someone who is working with our students who may have IEPs, just to balance it out. I mean, I don't know, that's just a suggestion, but.
So we right now have
There-
Allison who works with subgroups. She can't be here.
Right.
So if we only have one other interventionist, if we put him on in her place, that would represent those groups. He would represent the suburbs.
He would represent the subgroup.
And how long has he been here?
A long
Time.
I'm just thinking of a good balance because two teachers, like the para is great, love the insight, but they're both in the classroom. And it's
Right.
just a similar
I just think
perspective.
a pair would be, personally, I think someone that is having to be pulled and, you know, they're having to do all these different duties and they're having to fill in for people, like, I think they would have a very unique perspective.
I think a
or
para would be
a,
great. There's already enough
principal, or
teachers.
who they want to lead the school, because they are kind of often pulled and thrown in different positions. I think they would have a very eye-opening perspective, I think, of what, because they see so many different areas. Like a classroom teacher doesn't get to see the cafeteria all the time, because classroom teachers aren't in there, sitting there with kids every day in the cafeteria. They are. I think they get to see different parts of.
Yeah, I think a
kids'
para
days.
would be great, but I think
Yeah.
also someone who's in, that works with their students.
Yeah, and then
maybe
the-
intervention.
The teacher of the year this year happens to be half day working the whole entire building, which also makes it sort of, she sees a really bigger global picture in terms of STEAM.
We can talk in names here.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
Polly
just saying,
Acton,
like,
yeah.
to make it easy, so Polly Acton is the teacher of the year right now, she's also with STEAM, which would be good to have on the panel if we're going for STEAM certification next year.
And then the pair is Angela Banks.
Okay.
And then if we were to take that idea and have your position covered by our other interventionalist,
Which is Travis.
so then those would be three. Is there anyone else we should consider, or just, I mean, that feels clean to me, but to your point, is there someone else we should consider?
No, I think it sounds good. I just was,
No, I
would love
think,
someone who works with our students in the
Yeah.
intervention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is what,
And you can't be there.
yeah,
Yeah.
and Mr. Welch does, I mean, we have the same position, like he is working with those groups all day, every day. It's good.
does anybody else have any input, Kareem or anyone else, anything we should consider?
I'm also thinking from the social emotional
No,
side
me
too.
too.
Yeah.
Like, it would be great, Mr. LaSalle or Ossini, I don't know, but just someone who has just a good balance in the room. Someone who works with our students academically, someone who works with our students socially, emotionally, and someone who sees the entire school from the cafeteria to the library in the halls. We just need the representation, and so that's what I'm trying to cover. I was going through my thoughts, and oftentimes being the only one to say something is challenging for me. So I was having some anxiety in the beginning, but I was trying to work through my thoughts. Yeah, but I
I
just,
think that's a
I
very
think
valid,
that full picture, we need someone
Yeah.
social, emotional, academic, and then if we could pull someone from the cafeteria, like sometimes they have more insight than any of us in this
Yeah.
room. People who work in facilities and things like that, but that's besides the point. So,
and I do think like the parents in here too will be looking
Yeah,
out
we'll
for
be-
the social emotional
Mhm.
of the children as well. I mean,
right.
all the teachers do too, but I think there will be lots of social emotional.
Right, and I don't
Feeling
want to
going
just be from our
into-
children perspective,
Right.
you know what I mean, but more of a
Yeah.
holistic.
Yeah.
Because I'm bringing, like, if I'm speaking social emotional, I'm speaking about my girl.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
don't know, I mean, like, full transparency.
Yeah. no,
As a
true.
parent,
But I think you do a good job also speaking from other people that have come and talked to you.
Oh, yeah, for
besides
sure.
the kiddos, so.
right,
And we have a lot of time between now and April 1st, and then now and April 18th to get those voices, right? Like, as much as I can. I'm walking around here, I feel like I need a t-shirt that's like, please talk to me about GoTeam stuff, so that I can get stopped all the time, because I want to talk to a lot of people. Like, I don't want to just talk to like.
I
the
want a t-shirt
normal-
that says stop.
Well, it's
I'm not your safe space, I need one.
I'm not sure.
Anyway.
I just mean, like, I want to make sure, and I'm feeling the same way. I want to make sure we're representing all the families, right? I want to make sure we're representing all the staff. I want to make sure that the community that is invested in this building feels like they have a seat at the table. Like, this is really an opportunity, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but is really an opportunity to make sure that we are really representing our community, like all 700 kids, not just our kids, right? Like, we want to make sure, and I think that that's something that I've heard over and over in the conversations I've had, is like making sure that the questions we ask and that this principal, whoever he, she, they may be, understands the community they're walking into is our job, right? Like, not the idea of one itself, but the reality of what it means to be in this building and teach and support and, right? And what the community is asking for, that's our job. That's our charge.
And I just wanted to make sure we definitely have a strong staff perspective, because I've watched buildings in this cluster have principals get hired and the staff just walk away and close. So it's important that staff is also on board. Who they have to work
And
with.
feel supported in the whole decision, because at the end of the day, we're gonna walk out with our kid. We're sitting in this building.
Yeah.
So.
And I will
Maybe.
walk out.
Maybe.
Well, you know what I mean, like,
Yeah, I
like
just-
But
whoever.
I know what
yeah,
you
the
mean,
thing
but
is-
I'm an educator at heart, so you
Yeah.
all are a priority,
For sure,
for sure. I mean,
for sure.
But you don't
Go
want
without
families,
my
but you don't want families leaving it, like,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, no, seriously.
because you don't want families to then pull their kids. So
Right, and I think that's why
everybody needs to
I'm in
be-
the room, like,
Yeah.
at least personally, I think all of us, but.
Yeah.
So are we then saying, I just want, we don't have to vote, it doesn't have to be a motion, it's just a discussion. Are we good then with sending to APS those 3 names as our 3 people? Good. Kareem, anybody we need to consider, or anything we need to consider we haven't talked about?
No, I don't have any other names or anything like that. I do think Chappelle's bringing up a great point in terms of making sure we have the right voices in the room. But I think the discussion that you've had kind of touches on all of that. So I just agree with that piece there.
I think it's a quality call, right? And I think that's on all of us, is that, because I feel it intimately when I look around the room of like, who are we forgetting? Who aren't we thinking about? That I now have a charge for the next month to make sure I know how those families feel too.
And I think, you brought up a really good point, like reaching out to Osini and LaSalle and really kind of getting their perspective
Cause they have a
as well,
completely
because it's
different perspective.
completely different than, you know, what the classroom teachers or anybody else has. I think that would be really important too, in getting specific feedback from them. Like, because they also have to work with this.
I was gonna
principal very
email,
closely.
like, Ms. Coleman and Dr. Sinclair as well, and
Ms.
invite them
Nelson.
to the table. Ms.
I mean,
Nelson.
people
Oh,
who've
Ms.
been
Nelson.
here and.
So, you know,
No,
like,
me,
to
but it's
really
please.
like invite them to the table. Like, who are you sharing with? Who do you feel comfortable sharing with? Has your voice been heard? Are your opinions being counted? Have you filled out the survey? Like, be brutally honest with us so that we can represent. I think that's a great.
Because these
call.
are people who are invested here
Yeah.
without us.
And there are 9 of us, right? Like, I would hope that those people would have one person on here that they would feel confident and comfortable to talk to. Like, we don't want to call them out or single them out and be like, well, Mr. LaSalle said, right?
Right,
But at the same time, we do want to give him an opportunity to be heard. But I'll try to make some rounds in the next couple weeks and invite them to speak to anybody. So if you get a call or an email that's like, well, Brooke said, I did, sorry. So, because I want to make sure that they feel comfortable with whomever they're talking to, and if it's not me, I hope it's somebody else on the team, you know?
So there'll
whoever
be
you ever with.
16 people, just so you are aware,
16
16 people on this, on the tier 3.
16?
No,
With-
including 2 principals, 16 total.
I feel so bad.
I know.
Well, at least it's not a consensus per se, it's like scoring,
Mhm.
because if we had to come to a consensus, God help us. But
And with
it's,
no names too, so.
I think it's just an opportunity to really look around the room and make sure that every perspective is being heard. And one of the things I love about this team the most is that we're very responsive to each other and very respectful. And I think the budget showed us how many expertise we have in this room that are very diverse, right? Like, I think about Kristen bringing up things from real estate that I never would have thought of,
Yeah.
right? Like, there's a reason that every single person is in this room. So I want to keep inviting voices to the table, because even if 16 sounds like a lot, there may be something that happens that day that we're not prepared for, but somebody else in our room is. So hopefully we can move forward in a good way. Are we good? All right, excellent. I will send those 3 names in, and we can move forward. You guys are making good time today. All right, we are moving on to our report out of the CAT meeting.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Chappelle, would you please give us a summary on the meeting?
Yes, so, overall, I can say initially, we had a very intense budget discussion with the superintendent, because there's a lot of change he has to do that's beyond our perspectives. And I think it's, you know, heavy is the head that wears the crown, and a lot of it just has nothing to do with us. But, you know, there's a lot of questions. However, I guess as a cluster, ultimately, we're focusing on providing more access to school activities and events for families. So a lot of our cluster is offering like virtual platforms for several different events, from PTA meetings to like social events, all sorts of, it's gotten very unique with the offerings. And then STEAM event, there was a cluster STEAM event for the ambassadors recently. And then we also prioritize our strategies or strategic plan and our focus, top 3, I don't know what section you were in, relevant to just the strategic plan for the overall district, in our specific clusters. So we're prioritizing family engagement and also curriculum and instruction, overall academic success. A lot of schools in our cluster have other things going on and just generally in the district, we're on APS, and so I was in a session with other schools for the end part that didn't involve our cluster, because the meeting is very broad, and other schools are just attempting to achieve basic level of academic achievement, math, reading, just ensuring they have access to like the necessary instruction tools. So it was very interesting and different for that one session I was in.
Yeah, so at the end, we all were divided out into various different breakout rooms with some focus from the board members for the next strategic plan for the district, right? So there's a lot of feedback that is being gleaned. Everyone will start to hear more about that, about providing feedback towards the strategic plan.
Any questions on CAT? Excellent. We are to our announcements. We're moving. There are 2 major announcements from me, and then if I miss anything, please let me know. GoTeam applications are due this Friday, the 7th. We are what they call a rolling body, meaning that 4 of us roll off this year and then 5 the next year. So there are positions open in community, parents, and staff every year. So half the team stays and helps the new half come on, and then it happens again. So please, 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 if you are passionate about the school or you know a community that needs to be represented in this room, or a person that you feel is moving up or new to the community and would really be a strong voice here, please let us know. Talk to them directly. I'm really good at selling it. If you need me to make a phone call or an email, but we need a strong team, because the stronger the team, the better the budgets, the better the strategic plan, the better the principal search goes, the better the team works with people that are invested in the process. So that is this Friday, the 7th. All of that is online, and there's questions and comments and everything there of what needs to happen. The other thing is, please, please, please fill out the principal profile. The principal survey is out. It is due by Sunday, March 9th. Please, please, please fill that out, because that is our first and biggest chance to have an opinion heard and respected as part of this process to find our principal. Are there any other announcements? Excellent. We have reached the end of our agenda. Is there any additional business at this time? May I please have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Excellent. A second?
Still the same second.
All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Do I have to do the nays and the abstentions? Excellent. This meeting is adjourned at 5:56 p.m. Nice job. We have our final meeting in April. April 23rd, I believe, will be the last meeting for our GoTeam of 25-26.